Now that we're recording, anything that you say or do can be held against you in a court of law.
My cheeks are already hurting from laughing so hard.
I'm
Pre-record.
zipped now.
So
I've
this
learned from
is,
being I've learned from being married. Be careful what you say because it could be used against you later. So I am very careful, and I definitely follow the Steve Hardison method of talking to my wife.
Mm.
It's
which
definitely
is, would
definitely
you like to
I
share?
I love you comes daily for sure.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, many times, yes. Yeah, Steve. Well, Steve is just so great of expressing his love for Amy, and I think he's taught every man here in the in this group that like basically a role modeled it. So um, it wasn't that I needed necessarily needed you know I didn't need to go from 0 to 60, but I needed to go from like 30 to 60, and that's what that did for me. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Wow, I would love to know more of that. What is 30 to 60 and what's
30,
being
okay, 30 to
yeah.
60 for me and my wife is my wife, we live in Seattle, but my wife 2 years ago started, and for 2 years now, she's spent about 8 months in Las Vegas pursuing, re-pursuing dance as a career, and she's a professional dancer. She's going to be doing it again this year. So it'll be the third year. She may do it for the next, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years going forward. So what I did is I basically um, told her when she was auditioned and she was selected the first time, and she told them, "No, I can't do it because I can't make all the games. I can't promise that because I live in Seattle." She called me up and she said, "Oh, Jim, I am so disappointed. I really wanted to do this, and I know I can't because you're up there, and I can't leave you alone the whole time." I said, "Marty, her name is Marty. Marty, stop right now. Put down the phone. Go call them, text them, email them, tell them you have your husband's full support, and just do it." So it's what I call a radical support of my beloved's highest intentions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's mutual, by the way. She's been doing that her entire time in our marriage and even before.
Wow.
And she's done that for me. And so it was just really a blessing and a privilege to be able to do that for her. And it's not for her; it's like with her.
Yeah.
Wow, Jim. That is such a testament to the growth that you've experienced in building businesses. And I know stories that you've shared that you've had very successful businesses, failed at businesses, in your relationship, growing through a possibility of separation, but in the choices that you've made in being of loving support towards your dreams as an artist and as a mentor, and also supporting Marty's dreams and visions of what team does she dance for?
So
Isn't she?
there's this women's national basket league, professional basketball league called the WNBA. And in Las Vegas, they have a team, and their team is called the Aces. And the Aces, on their home games, has an over 50-year-old dance team that performs at the home games. And so it's over 50 years old. That goes from, there's about 20 plus of them. And it goes from 50 years old all the way up to 70 years old. And it's mostly women, but there's a couple men too. Yeah.
Well, that is absolutely incredible. And inspiring of the support that I witnessed both of you in order to create possibility for your relationship. So thank you so much for sharing that of what that 30 to 60 was with Steve for you. I had the opportunity to meet you at the Ultimate Experience, and I'd love in Birmingham, and I would love to hear what was your experience at the Ultimate Experience?
Wait, time out. Did you not meet him in Arizona?
I don't believe I actually met him.
Oh,
We were
We did not.
there, but we
yeah.
never met. But we met in
Yeah.
Birmingham.
Yeah, okay. Because all of y'all
Yeah.
were all in the same room at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, answer that. And then I'm going to follow up with the question of how this friendship came together, and tell the story of what occurred the night before the Ultimate Experience Arizona after you answer that question.
Well, maybe, so I'll answer Tanya's question. Would you like your question to go to Cari or
Sure.
me?
Sure.
Yeah, Cari.
But
That'd be great if
it
Cari
would
does
be
it.
great to get both perspectives of that too.
Yeah. Well, I want to hear Cari talk about
Yeah.
it. Yeah, what was my experience of Birmingham? I flew out just for Birmingham. I flew in and flew out. I was very tired. I didn't get enough food, probably a little dehydrated. Uh, but the event itself was incredible, and there was one particular moment when uh, when I think it was Chris Smith was presenting, and he asked everybody to do a little find a partner and do a short interaction together. And in that interaction, I happened to meet. It was to tell the other person something that you aspire to do, and so I went first, and I told this other person that I, intended uh, to. My intentions were to support creatives, to be able to support creatives. In a nutshell, it was more than that. Turns out he's a painter, an artist, and he basically said, "Well, that is very close to what my intention is as well." And so it was perfectly normal to find that kind of connection happen in that kind of an environment with that group of people. Um, Otherwise, people might say something like, "Oh, what a coincidence," but it's not so much a coincidence, right? It's really we know that those energies work in those kind of patterns, and so his name has just slipped my mind right now, but he's a great guy, great art, amazing artist, and a very lives in Birmingham, and he's very involved in the group there. So anyway, that's my answer, and now I'd love to hear Cari's answer to
I would love to hear
the
Cari's
other
too, but I
question.
didn't know you were at the at the Arizona event. So later on, I want to hear your experience with the Arizona event as well. But I'd love to hear from Cari first.
Oh, that's where this story yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Here's the thing, Erik. Part of the reason that Jim and I were asked to speak at Arizona this year was because of that experience last year. And so we can't give away too much because that will all kind of be unfolded on stage.
That's fair. We don't want to give away the whole enchilada, but some chips and salsa might be nice.
Well, I'll give you some chips and salsa, my friend. What I will tell you is that so the night before, as you mentioned, was we were setting up the venue, and then we had a blessing of the venue, and we were given this space where there was music playing, and we were we were encouraged to do whatever would help us to ground ourselves, to connect, to be present. And I was standing on the side of the room. I decided that I knew that we were going to have assigned tables. And so I knew I was going to be experiencing the next 2 days from pretty much one place in that building. And I wanted to experience that stage from every space in that building. So I was going in between the tables. People were hugging, people were smudging, people were crying, people were talking, everybody was doing their own thing. And I just kind of weaved through the tables, and I ended up on the far side. And I stood there and I was watching what was unfolding in front of me. And it was absolutely incredible. It was just beautiful. This music was playing, and it brought me to being present in a way that I had never been before. Then there was this experience that happened, and that, again, this part of it we're really going to get into on stage, so I won't give away too much. But to suffice it to say that there was an experience between myself and 3 other people, Jim being one of them, and Jim and I had no idea who each other were. We had never met. I hadn't even seen him that night. Like, it had no idea who he was. And then right after that, we all got back in a circle. And I think Judy, her intention was to pass around a microphone, and if anybody wanted to speak, that they could. And Steve, of course, just grabbed the microphone and said, "Nope, we're doing this first." And he said, "I want you to turn to the person next to you, like partner up, and I want you to turn toward each other and look at each other." And it just so happened that Jim and I were standing right next to each other, and we turned. And what Steve had us do was he had us just look in each other's eyes deeply, just as deep as you could. The intention, which was successful between Jim and I, again, still not having met each other, was learning that you can love somebody that you don't have any idea who they are. And Steve emulates this so amazingly with every single person he comes in contact with. He has love for everybody, no matter who they are. And to me, it was incredible. Jim and I created a bond without even knowing knowing each other's names, knowing anything about each other. Then when the microphone got passed around, the funny part was Jim then kind of was like, "I fell in love with this girl tonight." And I'm like, "You have a wedding ring on." And it was really interesting. And then he like pulls me in, and I'm like, "I don't even know this man." And he's like, "And I have to ask her one question." He goes, "What's your name?" And so we met each other right then. So
good.
it was great. But yeah, it was incredible. That part of the evening was life-changing for me. And excited to share the experience that happened and how it was life-changing. So
Amazing.
thank you.
I've had the honor and the pleasure to work with you on the Ultimate Coach book readings for a few seasons. And what I've experienced of you in your willingness to take thought to action and be love in the community, the conversations that you have created in support of the Ultimate Coach podcasts that are called Cari Conversations with Cari is such a testament of possibility. I remember when you had never done that before. And I remember, and you can share the story if you'd like or not, but it's such a beautiful, honorable thing to witness in your growth. And I would love for you to share with the community any thoughts of inspiration around possibility from what you've experienced being involved and being, and involved is really the word, because you've been involved with the community and the connections with the community and the creations of things happening in the community. How has that changed your life?
This changed everything. Thank you. And thank you for your words. I appreciate that. As you know, when I first got into this group, I could barely look at people on a computer screen, let alone speak to them. And very quickly after coming into the group, I was asked to be on Team Talk as well as, and I had only been to 1 or 2 book readings, so I didn't even really know what Team Talk consisted of. And I was like, sure, let's do this. And then I was asked to do these, at the time we did them, they were live, and we would do these live conversations with previous guests of the podcast. And it was kind of the same thing that we're doing here, so people could get to know them and then go back and listen to the words that they had said previously. And I was terrified. Like, terrified doesn't even really begin to describe how scared I was about doing that. I just, and as part of Team Talk, you give us the option to do whatever we would like to do. And so I was doing all of the, like, let's do tech, let's do the, posting on Facebook. I was doing all of the stuff where it didn't require me to speak. And finally, these live conversations started, and I was like, I can either do that completely by myself with this other person, or I can do that in a setting that I know is safe and that I have a team behind me that will step in and that will catch anything. They'll keep me from falling on my face. And so it was the last book reading we had before my first live. And I had asked the person that was supposed to be doing the main moderating if I could take over, if we could switch, and just so I could get some experience. And I'll tell you that was stepping so far outside of my box that I didn't know that was possible at the time. And then so wonderfully, I ended up doing my first live a few days later with Dave Orton, who, anybody who knows Dave Orton, he's just an incredible human being. But I had told him, and I knew him very well at that point, I was like, I am so scared. And he's like, I won't let you fail. And I can go back now and I can watch how I was in that first live. And I can see the way that I do them now, because now they have to be recorded, but I still do them the same way. Like, we figure out the topic about 3 minutes before we go on, we start recording. I don't edit anything out. It's just as it is, and it's as if it's live. And now I can do that without even really thinking about it. And part of what played into that for me was somebody once said, and I don't remember who it was, but they said, decrease the time between thought and action. And I found that in that space, as that space gets smaller, possibility gets, the option for possibility gets so much greater. Because as soon as you act, the next thing becomes possible. And then when you act on that, something else becomes possible. And so just taking those steps forward decreases that time. It decreases that space where possibility can exist to possibility existing.
One of the most valuable lessons in the chapter, thought and action. And so, being a part of the book readings, we're really in the book and applying it. And that's what I've witnessed with you, Cari. I've witnessed it live and in action of your bravery in stepping into all of these new roles and doing it with shaky knees, but also having a support system and a village around you that really loved you and carried you, and which I know for my experience being in this community and experiencing that was something different for me.
Gotcha.
And how differently we create now, being surrounded by love and encouragement, like being in the community of the ultimate coach.
That was
So
something that was really hard for me to accept was, I mean, we talked about it at the beginning of this call before we started recording. The accepting the compliments, the accepting the help, the accepting that people love you, the accepting that there's no ulterior motive. There was always a wall there for me. There's always a wall. And I have slowly but surely been able to break that and finally allow myself to be loved, to be helped, to be served. And it just creates, again, it's all about creating possibilities, and everything we do creates more possibility.
Yeah. I want to acknowledge you for your courage.
Oh,
I
thank you.
mean, it takes courage to do things that you haven't done before. It takes, and courage isn't the lack of fear present. Courage is really doing it in despite having fear, right? Doing it scared,
Right.
but just taking action, right? And I see you as one of the most courageous people in the things that I've seen in the last year. Um, the courage in the just the example that you've set in all of that and all the ways that you've grown through that courage is absolutely remarkable. And yeah, it's amazing. You're amazing. That's who you're being. That's your being,
Well,
and that comes from you, right? I want to acknowledge you because that's coming from who you're being. Not all the support systems, not all the encouragement, not all the other things, which are great too. I'm not saying they aren't, but I'm acknowledging the courage in you and your being. Because you can have all that other stuff. You don't have that, it doesn't happen.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
100% yes.
Sorry, Jim, you were saying something.
Oh, you just inspired me when you said the level of courage that Cari has. And I guess I want to be a bit provocative right now about what Cari and I will be talking about, not explicitly, but the character or the nature of. Now, this has been a great conversation. I've really enjoyed all of it, um, and it feels like a nice canoe ride down a river. You know, it's got some trees hanging over, and it's a beautiful day, and maybe a little fish jumps over here, and it's so pleasant. It's really pleasant. And actually, what Cari and I are going to talk about is like a rocket ship ride. It is like a train out of control story. It is the trajectory from what Cari said about this experience that she had in the room at last year's experience in Arizona, which was very intimate in a very wholesome way. It was the name of subtitle of or name of our I guess our talk is The Power of Presence. It was intimacy in terms of presence, and this I don't know. We don't know how long it lasted, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever,
Yeah.
was like a timeless state. It was
Wow.
like no time and timeless. But what came out of that and has developed over the year, like it'll almost be a year to the date that we get on the stage. Okay,
Mhm.
over that year, what has developed has been an absolute rocket ride for this woman.
Mm.
And I mean, the courage that she has brought to look inside of herself and to face the demons and to thaw the frozen traumas, to unwind and unsort the almost unspeakable is absolutely, I'm getting chills right now. I have chills all up and down my body because I know what that entails. So anybody who's going to be in the seats at the event, it's going to be a rocket ride of a story. And what we're going to do also, just another little tidbit, is we're going to braid or weave in the power of presence in through that. In other words, we're going to kind of parse out two kinds of presence, a distinction of presence, two powerful kinds of presence, and we're going to kind of weave it through or signify it in the various parts of the story.
Wow.
There'll also be some interactions to go deep into presence yourself as well. So I feel like all of this conversation has been so incredible. The questions and Cari's story, things I've learned about her, but I am really excited about what's going to unfold on that stage because I don't really know. It's potent. I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, this was the gentle, calm canoe ride before the storm. In the best of ways.
Tell you one thing I will tell you that I don't know if it'll come out on stage or not, but me being at that event last year was miraculous. I knew 4 days beforehand, and that was the first time I had ever consciously created anything because somebody finally got in my ear and was like, I was like, I can't, it's 4 days, I can't be there. And he's like, of course you can. And I was like, of course I can. And got there. But what nobody knows, it's exactly what I did. Jim, I don't remember if I told you. I think I've only ever told one or two people this. Maybe 30 minutes before we had the blessing on the venue, I was in the bathroom sobbing, trying to figure out a way to go home because I felt like I had this image of myself, which has always been perfection or failure, and there's no in between. And I thought, I'm going to come into this venue and I'm going to be Brent. Nobody know. I mean, I know a couple people, but I'd never met anyone in person. There's going to be so many people there I don't know, and I'm going to be perfect. And that, of course, did not happen. And I was spilling water and I was breaking things and everything was, and I ended up in the bathroom saying, I can't do this, and was trying to figure out a way to go get my luggage, which was in the venue, and get out of there and change my ticket and fly home that night without anybody knowing that I left. And I had to realize that there's got to be a reason that I'm here. I mean, the way that this was created was just 4 days. In 4 days, I was there. And so I finally took some deep breath and splashed some water on my face and walked out and put on the smile of that I really wasn't, it wasn't genuine. I wasn't feeling it, but I was pretending. And little did I know, 30 minutes later, the most miraculous thing happened that was life-changing. And that has honestly been a catalyst for me at times when things have happened and I'm like, I can't move forward. I can't do this. That's exactly what I thought then. And 30 minutes later, life was different. And so it's the power of presence because I wasn't being present. I was living in the past. I was living in the future. I was anxious. I was depressed. I was worried about what people were going to think. I was not centered and grounded. And it's just such a powerful thing. So we're excited. Jim and I are both excited to share.
What an amazing journey from being in the bathroom, not even feeling like you belong and wanting to escape, to now this year on the stage, sharing the transformation, and serving others with the powerful things that have occurred. I'm like, I feel like Macaulay Culkin, like, what?
Okay, Eric, I'm leaking more. I'm leaking more. See, I'm just feeling leaky all over the place. So, okay, what inspired this mysterious experience that we're talking around and around is actually, I did talk about it on Being Caught podcast number 86. So if you really want to know, you can go listen in there and get some clues. It tells kind of a setup. And that setup has already been leaked, so I'll just say it again now, is that that it all occurred because of one man, this experience and this output, and that's Steve Hardison. Now, I watched Steve at that experience last year in Arizona, and I was watching how he attended to people. And he was just right there with who was on stage, but he was also like watching, oh, somebody over here and then there. And, it's like his awareness was so, like radar. And it was so highly developed. What is presence? I'm not going to answer that, but I am going to say awareness is a big part of it, and attending. So I was watching him attend. That was after the way he attended to Cari by creating something on the spot and creating this experience. Okay. So it had to do, and that leads into kind of a certain kind of very wholesome intimacy that occurred as the beginning, what would you call, detonation button for the rocket that came over the year afterwards. So I just wanted to say that because it's a great, really, our talk will be a great tribute to Steve, obviously to Cari, and it's Cari's story, and also to Judy and you, Eric, who recognized that it would be worthy to tell, and for Judy to intuit the power of presence as a very important piece of that. Presence is something I've been practicing for in like a daily practice for over 15 years. And one of the things I like to quote a guy, Dr. Richie Davidson's from the Mind Life Institute, that studies how the mind works with fMRI and whatnot, meditators and others, and what meditation and what being in a state of presence can do, even for meditators who are only 3 months into meditating. Now, it could be meditating in different kinds of forms, contemplation. There's all rosary beads, it's all kinds of ways that you can still and calm the mind and enter into presence. The effects of the brain literally make changes to the neuroanatomy of the brain, shrinking portions that are inhibitory to our, that, let's say, increased self-talk, useless self-talk, the kind that goes round and round in circles, the committee in the head that's all like everybody's talking, and increases other areas of the brain, literally in the anatomy. Also, they can see the effects of a agitated brain in fMRI and a brain that's concentrated and aware and present in fMRI. And one is very, let's say distracted. Distracted is like under some kind of stress and inefficiency mode, as opposed to a present, aware, and calm state of mind, which brings clarity and understanding and discernment and equanimity and compassion, and so many other things. So I really appreciate Judy's title for this talk.
Yeah, and everything that she's done, and I don't know if anybody else knows this, and I know she's shared it openly, so she wouldn't mind me sharing it here. Is that when it comes to the programming and who she makes requests and invitations of to be on stage and to gift people with occurrences and inspiration and insights and wisdom and whatnot, is all spirit led. Like she gets the inspiration, and it's and she just obeys the plan, and her process of that, and watching it from my seat, because I got the front row seat basically of how she operates and orchestrates all of these things, and it's remarkable. I mean, she gets requests constantly. I mean, obviously it's amazing, powerful event that shifts people's being, and I mean, you've got global leaders that are coming together that are literally making a difference in the world, around the world. And who wouldn't want to stand on that stage and have some form of influence or things to share? And she's obeying whatever the download is. And so I say all that to say that the Spirit has chosen you, Cari, and you, Jim, to be in this space for reasons none of us know. And I'm excited about all of what's going to unfold there, wherever the rocket ship takes us.
That's really
You know,
well said, Erik, and I love that.
go
And I
ahead,
just want to
Jim.
say that's a very humble position that you take there, because I know that you're a very important and partner, very important partner in all of these, in the in creating the rich soil in which all of this grows.
Thank you. I received that.
And that's what I see in both of you, and doing that for both of your partners, and allowing, what I also witness is both of them allowing you to do it for yourselves as well, with the support in your dreams. And I really want to acknowledge the presence that you bring, Jim, to your art, in allowing yourself to be spirit led. The work that you have shown me that you created blew my mind, of the incredible artists that I had no idea that you are. For artists out there,
And I happen to own the best piece he's ever created.
that is true. That is so true. I saw that piece and I was like,
I
wow.
may be biased in a number of different ways, but
No, it's deserving. It's deserving. Like, wow. That is just absolutely incredible. What guidance could you give to maybe an artist out there that is feeling like they're not in creation mode, or they're having a difficult time connecting to their heart and be present to their creative ability? What would you say to them?
It's a really great question. I love it. It's a very important question. So for artists and creative, everybody is creative. We are creating all the time. So this is for artists. and creatives. So this is really for everybody. So creativity comes in waves and based on conditions. So sometimes things happen in one's life where external events can come about and the wind can blow us off track for whatever reason, right? It happens to everybody. Everybody in the world faces different kinds of challenges. And so an artist may be on track, or a creative person on track with their creation and their art, or their music, their dance, their play, their entrepreneurship, whatever, but something comes along and throws them off track. And that can be very difficult to handle at the time, because it can throw a creative person out of the flow. And so the point is then to get back into the flow. Sometimes that means cleaning up some mess, dealing with the particulars of your life at that particular time. You have to have a base of which to work off of creatively. There has to be a certain stability. It's very helpful. But oftentimes you have to refill your creative cup. That's really the big thing. And to be able to recognize when your creative cup is getting low or is empty. And that can happen for a number of different reasons. But sometimes, like I was going through a period like this about 20 years ago. And it's like, oh man, I thought, I would come up with different psychological reasons why stuff isn't working for me, and it was all up in my head. So an artist works from their heart and their intuition. If it's from the head, it would be symbolically from more of the right brain, you might say, right? So there's an analytical side of the brain. There's a more of maybe a big picture and creative side of the brain. So when I got blown off track, the analytical side of the brain came in and it started working overtime. And that just closed down the other side more. The other side is the side that needs support and nurturing. So it's really a matter of working with the intellectual side to say, I understand your concerns. I hear you. You're right. Those are good points. Money, yeah, we need that. Yeah, we need this. But let's put that on the back burner. I got you. I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you. But now, it's now time to go back to that beautiful place inside in your heart, and to redevelop that connection of intuition and become embodied, where the intuition lives, and to nurture it. I do it by journaling, by seeing movies, by meeting with friends, by all the things that go on in the Facebook group with the Ultimate Coach, for instance. So many of these things is really moving the mind out of criticism of not being creative or not being on track, and into the life of possibility, of the creativity that is inside you. I will also say that we come into life with a gift. I like to call it a cargo. And our goal in life, through those ups and downs of, cup full, cup half empty, cup full, cup empty, cup full, that creative cycle overall is to deliver our cargo in this lifetime. It's to deliver that cargo. And that cargo is only your cargo. Nobody else has the same cargo. You were born with it. It's in your heart. And when it's denied, your cup gets empty. And when your cup gets empty, you have to reconnect with that. your deepest visions, your deepest creative impulses, and your intuition, and do the things that it's all out there in the self-help world, right? Do the things to get yourself back into that positive space, and then believe in that gift. That gift, you don't want to die with the gift inside you. You want to deliver that cargo. That's the nature of the role of an artist.
Beautiful.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. I think that applies to, and I love that you said we're all artists and we're all creative. Because I could really feel the presence and the truth and how that is accurate for me in my creations. When I don't show up to fill my cup and to anchor myself or to ground me, my ability to create and my action time is often put back on the shelf or just like delayed for later and I get distracted. And but I shared a story in the beginning about Rickabaugh Bridge, and it's coming up again. Mm-hmm. And so I'm gonna go ahead and share it in a different way, because and I'll share with the audience that's watching in this moment, because it bridges this for me with what you just said. I felt a calling to show up for myself. Mm-hmm. And I said, one day I will do that. And little did I realize 20 years had passed by. Mm-hmm. 2 decades had passed by and I hadn't done the thing. And the thing was to walk over a bridge. And we've talked about thought and action on this call. And so the thought of one day I want to walk across that bridge. And at the moment when I had that thought, I was in a wheelchair. So a lot of the things of, why I can't do that came up in those 2 decades in between. And then being involved in the Ultimate Coach, really asking myself, what would it look like to create my most extraordinary life? What would it really look like to love myself? And I recognized that showing up to that particular bridge was what it looked like. And it just so happens to be Cari's name, the Rickabaugh Bridge. And so for me, by showing up to that thing most recently, in my most recent experience, when I showed up and I was like, yeah, I showed up, because I almost did. And I almost went in the opposite direction and realized I'm only 7 minutes away. Why wouldn't I? Like, I've got my whole day planned to where I could actually show up and fill my cup. And when I realized that I was making a decision not to show up and fill my cup, I did a U-turn and I decided, no, that's not what I'm going to do today. I'm going to go show up. And when I showed up to the Rickabaugh Bridge, I got a phone call from the professor, and we were able to talk about the upcoming Ultimate experience. This was our first call talking about it and what we were planning and so forth. And I was acknowledging him by what him and Judy are creating. They are bridging the gap from impossibility to possibility for so many people by creating the Ultimate experience. And how so many of us can do that by showing up, to what filling our cup looks like. And on this particular day, one of the greatest lessons I ever experienced was there with me. And that's why I feel called to share it here. Is that on my way back over the bridge, the sun, just like what you see behind me, there was a direct line to me, just like that. And it walked the entirety over the bridge with me. And walking with me 1.1 miles back over the bridge. When I wanted to take a video of it, because I was thinking to myself, wow, how is it that the sun, the light with a direct path to me is walking with me all the way over the bridge at one time that I thought was impossible? And it just made me think, where else have I thought that things were impossible? And there was a gap in between that thought and action, or the possibility between impossible and possible. And then I remembered that part in the book where Amy wrote that Steve eats impossible for breakfast. And I thought, who am I to say that it's impossible for the light to be walking with me when I have actually felt like such darkness walked with me at various times of my life? But in this moment, the light was walking with me. And I was still doubting it. Like, how is it possible that the light is directly here walking with me? And so it made me think about how many times where we create something to be impossible. But when we show up to it, when we give ourselves permission to show up to the thing that fills our cup, how impossible all of a sudden becomes possible. The thing, the dream, the vision, the creation of what's possible. And so I remembered wanting to get it on video so bad, and my phone died. And I was like, we should know. Like, kind of like in the beginning of this call, I was like, it's just for me that I guess, like, I gotta just be with it and enjoy it. And what was so funny was that I was like, no, I gotta get it on film. So when I finally got to my car, the light was still with me. So I plugged my phone in a little bit and it got to 2% charge. And I unplugged my phone to get out to record it. And don't you know, I didn't have enough battery. So think about ourselves, like when we go at something, but we don't have enough charge, right? We're not like energized enough. We haven't plugged into ourselves enough, or however we want to envision that. But for me, it was like, oh my gosh, I can't see anything. I'd be filming in the dark. So let me plug in again. So I plugged it in. I wound up having to do it 3 times until I finally got smart about it. Like, okay, it's not working. I need to go all the way to video, press record. If it records, I get what I get. If it doesn't, I don't. It's okay. It will be what it is. And so I did. I walked towards the water. I walked along and I filmed the light walking with me. I did a U-turn shortly after and I walked back, and the light was also with me. And it just reminded me so much of sometimes we have been led through darkness, but there's still light within us. But it does take us showing up to fill our cup in whatever way. And I am so extraordinarily excited that I had that experience on the Rickabaugh Bridge. And to hear what you guys are talking about, which I'm no spoilers, is like, the light is always walking with us. But do we see it? Do we experience it? Are we distracted from it? Every step in this journey, whether through the light or through the dark, is leading us to exactly where we are in this moment. And I know the best is yet to come, and that the ultimate experience is going to be the birthplace of so many miracles, because it's already happening. So thank you. Thank you both for saying yes to being special guest speakers at the ultimate experience. It is going to be fun.
We're
Thank
excited.
you. Thank you very much. And Tanya, I believe you may want to name this distinction the Rickabaugh Bridge distinction.
Ooh. I think
It may have some. It may have just been permanently enshrined, so to speak. Because it's a beautiful story.
The video and the pictures of the bridge with you. I will put it in our chat. Yes.
Can I share one final thing before we wrap up? Something that has come up for me during this conversation, while each of you have spoken, and it came up a couple of times while you were just telling that story, Tanya, is when you said, who am I to say? I said, this isn't possible. I said, I can't do this, right? And one of the things that has really helped me in the past year on this journey was we had one of our book readings, and Jill and Mike Kotzitz were the guest readers. And one thing that Mike said that I've never forgotten was he said, listen to yourself less and talk to yourself more.
Mm.
And that for me has been critical at times in terms of decreasing that time between thought and action, because the thought comes and then I listen to myself and say, I'm tired, or I don't have the ability to do that, or that's not for me. And I have to stop listening to myself and tell myself what is true.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
thank you for letting me share that.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Oh, so whether you have a ticket or not, you just got gold in your pocket. So what you do with that gold, you can do with that gold. But we invite you to be there at the ultimate experience because it's going to be fantastic. Everything before, in between, after, it's truly going to be a phenomenal experience. So can't wait to wrap my arms around you next week. I know my last hug with Carrie was great, and with you too, Jim. So can't wait till next week. But until then, be blessed. And thank you for being you.
Love you guys. You guys
Thank
are
you.
awesome.
Love you guys.
Have a beautiful
Thank
night.
you. Thank you so much. This was beautiful, and I love you.
I love you too.